All right. Sorry, things kind of exploded there for a second. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Hopefully the slideshow is actually working. Um, if I could just get confirmation that people can see it, then I will get started. And there's a lot to go over. So let us get going. So yeah, today, just a little bit of welcome on housekeeping. The housekeeping being just getting everything working this morning. We're going to talk a little bit about the ZK EVM migration of both the NFTs and tokens. We're going to go over some Mineloader trip highlights, quick update on the road ahead after the Mineloader trip, and then dive into the AMA questions, of which there are a ton. So, yeah, immutable ZK EVM migration retro. Um, so the good news is all of the GOG NFTs have successfully been migrated to the corresponding zkVM wallets, be they passports for people who have linked through to their passports, or to the associated like MetaMasks and every other style of wallet out there if they did not set up their passport. Um, we did run into issues with the migration. Nothing ever quite goes to plan. So essentially, it ran twice. This means that for people, there are essentially dead NFTs that cannot be traded within the ecosystem. They can be transferred essentially, but they won't be able to be listed on any of the marketplaces. Um, uh, this happened while I was recovering from the trip to Shanghai, but we have it all sorted. If you have your wallet connected to Immutable Passport, you can locate your NFTs within the zkVM Passport accounts. You can trade them on marketplaces like Token Trove. Um, if for some reason you did not link your passport, they will be in your MetaMask wallet on the Immutable zkVM. To modify your NFTs in Guild of Guardians, you will need to transfer them from your MetaMask wallet over into Passport. But one of the things that we talked about at length while we were in Shanghai is what we would have to do to enable being able to use MetaMask assets within Guild of Guardians. For a little bit more of a technical, like quick overview TLDR, within mobile, part of why we're using Passport is it lets us move things around seamlessly within GOG, prevents us from having to do pop-ups out of the mobile app, which can run into trouble with both of the Play stores on basically taking people out of app. So where we're at right now is we believe for global launch, we'll have everything set up so that whether your assets are within Passport or within a linked wallet to your Passport account, because you need a Passport account to play GOG, they will work. If you have them in a MetaMask, you will not be able to modify them though. So you would not be able to raise the enlightenment of a NFT in a MetaMask wallet. To do that, you would need to move it into Passport. After you've enlightened it, you could move it back if you wanted. We know that there were some issues or some concerns from the community around security, and we believe that providing the ability to have linked wallets outside of Passport and still let you use those NFTs is something that the community wants. So we're looking to serve that up. There was quite a lot of discussion too around NFTs like the Gill NFTs, which are highly valuable, and making sure that if people wanted to store those in cold wallets, we can get to the point where that will work cleanly because the Guild NFTs don't need to be modified like the Guardians do. So we're going to keep working on that front to make sure everything comes across. Oh, well, yeah, I had a slide for this. But yeah, needs to be in Passport if you want to play around with it. If you try to do something in the app, it would essentially error out until you need to move them across. But yeah, hopefully that is good news for everyone in chat. Um, GOG token migration is now live. You can only access that through the main Guild of Guardians website. There is no deadline for GOG token migrations. Your GOG tokens will remain on immutable X or L1 if you choose not to migrate. And then, yes, there is still that incentive to move things across. On this point, though, yeah, migration and gas. So, of course, we're doing the migration when crypto is once again exploding. Yeah, hints of a bull market yet again, which means gas is through the roof, particularly for people with small token amounts. This doesn't make sense. I can make no promises, but I'm trying to work with our internal team to find better ways for particularly small token holders to get things across. Keep your eyes peeled for announcements on this front if I get my way. Cool. Mineloader trip. So yeah, I have been away from Sydney for a bit. Spent some time in Singapore to be on site with our growth and marketing team, and then flew into Shanghai for an absolutely insane trip. It was a very, very productive trip. Absolutely exhausting, uh, but very, very good. If you want to know what it roughly looks like for us when we're there, very early in the morning, we show up at the Mineloader offices, and then it is back-to-back meetings all day long in a room. A little break there in the purple for lunch, um, talking about deep design and technical issues. Uh, the level of exhausting at the end of each of those days, I can't quite describe it. I don't know if I've ever uh, been so mentally done. Uh, and by the end of the trip, well, we were all pretty loopy, but so much good came out of it. I'm not going to go over absolutely everything today, but we will be trickling out information over the course of the coming weeks. Also, a little bit of Guanxi. So there is relationship building on any trip like this. We had some nice dinners with the Mineloader folks, and there's me cutting cake. It was my birthday during the trip, so yay, happy 46th to me. Didn't really feel like it with everything going on, but yeah, still moving along, still here, still ticking up. Yay, level up. A little bit of fun. This is not a final design, but we've been bopping back and forth with strong hands on the design of his Guardian. We're going to go through another round of iteration based off of some discussion on these designs, looking at potentially maybe changing the shoes, maybe changing the pants a little bit. Um, uh, he's got a pretty clear vision of what he wants, trying to balance it out about just our goals around legendary guardians and how they fit into the world. But I'm pretty happy with how things are coming along on this front. Yeah, this is a fun one in all of the noise to be working on. Cool. All right, a little bit now on the road ahead. Actually, before I do that, I'm just going to pop in to chat. Actually, Stronghand wants more complete shoes, so you'll have to talk to him on that one. Cool. Looks like we're going to questions, so I will continue on. Come on, where'd my slides go? Did it?
Is my mic still?
Now your mic is working.
Oh,
Now we
finally.
can hear you.
Jeez.
I just hit like this major point of confusion because this is actually my desktop. Development on Alter is moving apace. We're going to have some announcements on this front. We actually were able to meet with the developers who are not Mineloader that we're working on with the Alter in Shanghai as a sort of side bonus. The people over at Zombots made the trip over from Taipei, which was really appreciated to be able to be in person to lock in some additional design elements on this front. Really looking forward to this release in the near future as well. And then for GOG, the next big thing is going to be the ZK EVM read-only test now that we've gotten the migrations out of the way. This is going to be a big step on the road to global launch. Last time I threw this up, it was Canada and Australia. The team is discussing exactly what we want to do on this front. At a high level, there's some desire to test an APAC audience in addition to Canada, just to get a little bit more information on how both regions perform. I also want to launch in Australia, mostly because right now, when we're doing testing from Australia, we're testing through TestFlight. And though it is very similar, it's the same build, the behavior is not the same. We cannot quite test out the store flows truly authentically. There's some debate on that as well. Once that resolves, we will let all of you know. This will be Web 2 and Web 3 read only. We're not going to be doing writes to zkAVM out of this test. But this will be good for us to go through the Passport flows. This will be taking Passport login 2 from where it's at right now on StarkX over to zkAVM. This will be looking a lot at optimization and just how everything performs, how quickly things move. The content will be the Web3 Founder Guardians, and that's specific. The Esports Guardians will not be in this test. It will just be the 35 Founder Guardians. And yeah, we're going to learn a lot from this. One of the things that we've really been working on has been performance. With the 1.08 build in Canada, we pretty much took load times for launch down to about half of what they were previously. On my iPhone, I went from about 14, 15 seconds down to 7 or 8. Android is still worse than iPhone, where we had on my Samsung Galaxy, I was around 24, 25 seconds, and that's now down to about 13. So we're seeing big improvements. It's something that we're going to continue working on more. As we bring, the new flows in from Passport, we expect that there's going to be performance issues to start, and that will give us more to work on as we drive through to global launch. Really looking forward to this. We have an internal date in mind. We will release that once it goes from what we're targeting to we know for sure, but in not too distant future. Global launch. So one of the big things that came out of the trip to Mineloader, we spent a lot of the time discussing all of the features that we need in the March to global launch, what we need out of those features. We were able to dive down into much more detail on most of them. We still have a few open questions. There's always going to be open questions until things are fully implemented and in. But we have locked down the final internal roadmap to global launch, which has reduced my stress by multiple levels. That said, no plan survives contact with reality, and reality continues to batter us about. But my confidence that we're going to launch within Q2 is at an all-time high. Yeah. Brain just did a hiccup there, thinking of if there's anything else on this front. But no, we will let you know as details sort out of this, but everything is looking good. And when it comes to, this Q2 launch, there is also a part of me that would love to continue working towards a launch farther out where we can get, every iteration we want, every change we want in. But some of it too is with where we're seeing the market going, with where GOG is at in overall quality compared to a lot of what we're seeing launch at the moment, we do believe it is a prime time for GOG to go out and live and to benefit everyone in the ecosystem, you and us included. All right.
We did have a question from Tomahawk,
Yep.
Clay. He was asking, will there be a total reset of the game for global launch?
So we have continually been cagey here because we need to get accurate testing on that front, and I'm going to continue to be cagey on that front. I think what I will say is We have shared what our plans would be if there was a reset. And if you think about Web3 ecosystem as what is necessary, you can figure it out from there. So
Awesome. Sounds good.
there's my answer, non-answer.
But hey, at least we answered it, Tomahawk. So there you go. You can't hold us to it now.
Cool. Founder heroes. First question is, for founders and early adopter heroes, I would like to know exactly how many duplicates would be needed to max out Enlighten. So this is one of the things that we finally ironed out for realsies. This was a bit of a surprise to me, hitting Mineloader, in that what I thought we had locked in on, what they thought we had locked in on, was not aligned. But coming out of this trip to Shanghai, we are completely in alignment. And to reach 15 stars for a Legendary Guardian will take 9 duplicates. Founder Guardians and the NRG Guardian will start with 3 extra stars and basically at 8 stars and 3 Radiance. That would mean that legendaries from the founders would require 7 more duplicates to reach max enlightenment. Epics and rares from founders will also start with 3 extra stars and 3 radiance. Epics would require 5 more duplicates to reach 10 stars. Rares will require 2 duplicates to reach 5. Esports Guardians will start with 1 extra star of enlightenment and 1 extra radiance. So this, when you look at all of the math around Radiance and stars, does provide the Founders Heroes with a significant leg up on everyone else who will be coming in. Obviously, eventually, people with the Web2 Guardians and future, Banner Guardians will be able to increase to match and go beyond. But hopefully this locks in for everyone for all of their math. If there are questions that fall out of this, happy to go into more detail. For that, for the chart, if people want a screen grab, we'll get this prettied up. But this is essentially how that falls out, like at which levels of alignment, which numbers of duplicates will be needed. And on that legendary front, like you can get near to the top pretty quickly. Those last couple of levels of enlightenment are where things will slow down. There you go. Founder heroes. Will Founder Guardians, which were minted for 250 ledge, now have the same star level as Esports Guardians, which were minted for 50? 100 if you had no other NFTs from GOG. I believe everything above covers that. So the Esports Guardians are not quite at the same level of the founders, but they also get a leg up. At the moment, rumor is that founders and early access heroes won't need to burn duplicates for enlightenment. Can we confirm this to be sure? Yeah, and this is on me. As I've apologized before, I misspoke on Discord due to a misunderstanding on a translation from Mineloader for the regional test launch. That was completely on me, and some of that was from my experience leveling up Guardians in the app. I was stuck at the stages where you didn't need duplicates, and there was a miscommunication across because although I've been studying my Mandarin for about that's now about 6 months, I have a long way to go on that front. Series differences. What is the difference between founders, early adopters, and esports heroes? So essentially, think of series as a chronicle of time where the Guardian is from. Founders and early adopter series, enjoy the additional starting enlightenment radiance benefits. Future series will denote the generation the Guardian is from. So when we're going into launch, the core Guardians will essentially be generation, core 1. Additional banners will be Gen 1, Gen 2, and beyond. When it comes to the star level differences are the biggest difference between them. Future Guardians will start at the base levels. They will not get additional bonus Enlightenment or Radiance. And then obviously all of the skills within. Radiance level impact. Can you talk about the impact Radiance level has on Guardians? Is there a cap to the level depending on the hero rarity, or is it consistent between all rarities? So the Radiance cap of a Guardian is tied to their Enlightened level. So higher rarity Guardians can have a higher level of Radiance. Radiance adds additional power to a Guardian. So just by taking a Guardian from Web 2 to Web 3, that first level of Radiance, their power will increase. We're still working with Mineloader on the final balance of Enlightenment and Radiance, but coming out of this most recent trip to Shanghai, a max Enlightened, max Radianced Legendary Guardian would have around 3x the power of the basically base version of that, and that's not base Founder, we're talking like a base Web 2. So there's a significant increase over time. Some of what we're trying to balance out is exactly where those power boosts come to make sure that that's sort of in line, particularly too, with where those duplicates are needed, so that between the dupes, between the shards, they need to level them up. It generally makes sense for people to continue on that progression. Max star levels for heroes. Are commons, rares, and epics going to have a max star level that's lower than legendaries? Max stars like they do now? It seems to me like any non-legendary guardians will have no place in late game if they cannot be upgraded as much. Legendaries already have more abilities. They don't need to be higher stars to maintain a stronger baseline. So this has been the plan for quite some time. I know we were talking about this early last year when we talked about the switch to the new format. And the simple truth of this is commons, rares, and epics. If they could all reach 15 stars, we could not have them be common, rares, and epics. Essentially, we would need to go back down to just a single level of rarity. Partly just because the math doesn't work. If you have a 15-star common, if it follows along that path, unless we're kind of nerfing what stars mean for those common and rares, essentially you have commons, rares, and epics being at near parity to legendaries, without, again, some arbitrary meaning that 15 stars for a common doesn't actually mean the same as 15 for a legendary. Just if the only difference were that legendaries have extra skills, I can guarantee you with nearly 100% certainty that nobody's going to be going for legendaries. Like, commons and rares are so much easier to obtain. It just doesn't make any sense. And then what we would have is legendaries actually become the least valuable assets in the ecosystem because it takes so much to obtain them. It takes so much to enlighten them and radiance them. There's just no reason to go there. And all of a sudden, the whole system inverts. And for anybody who has been with us for a long time, the last thing we want to do is tank the value of the legendary and epic characters in the ecosystem in favor of commons and rares. And essentially, that is what would happen if everything could get to 15. There's a chance here that I'm wrong, but my full experience in game design tells me this is absolutely true. Happy to be challenged on it if somebody sees something I'm missing, but I can tell you that this is how this would play out. Energy Esports. Why was Reborn the only esports guardian who costed $350 to mint? So this was before my time on GOG. But Reborn was the first esports guardian. It's always going to hold a unique place in Web3 history. And the short of it is that was the price point that was needed to ensure that the sale didn't undercut Founder Guardians at the time. It is also why Reborn falls into the Founders bucket in terms of additional Enlightenment stars and additional Radiance, because he falls essentially into that tier versus the later sale of the Esports Guardians. Unit economics is the TLDR short on this one. Guardian skills. We don't know exactly which skills founders will have. Can you tell more about this? So coming out of the trip to Mineloader, I will say that not every founder guardian has their skill set complete yet. Those are in active development right now. We have the 15 Founder Guardians that we completed skills for Beautiful Corner and Friends and Family, but all of those are getting a look at too. Essentially, we put development on the Founders on hold to finish all of the Web 2 heroes for the regional test launch because we needed all of those complete and the Founder Guardians weren't going to be in it. This also means that the Founder Guardian skill sets are being developed with all of the learnings we have from regional test launch on how the different skills for the Phase 2 Guardians have played out. What we're going to be doing here is something that carries over from my time at Magic and on Gods Unchained of spoiler season. So talking things through with marketing, they're really looking forward to essentially over the month of March, spoiling out the different Founders Guardians and their skill sets. This will also give us an opportunity to get feedback from the community too before we go live with them for the ZKE VM read-only. We'll be continuing to tweak and balance them through that launch and beyond. But yeah, you should be able to see those in the not too distant future. And it is something that I'm really quite looking forward to. It's been a long time coming to get to this point. So yeah. Non-legendary hero viability. How are you going to make non-legendary heroes viable considering they are lower in stats and Founders started with higher stats, probably higher stats, growing rate too? The short answer is it's far more complicated than just everyone will use legendaries. This is something we've absolutely seen from the regional test launch. The first on this is time and cost, in that it's far more viable to enlighten an Epic Guardian to 10s than it is a legendary to 10. So what we've seen in the data that's played out from those pushing through all the content in Canada, and just from our own experience playing through too, is early on, if you get a legendary, it totally makes sense to pull them into your squad. But there is a point as you push deeper where because it's easier to get epic duplicates, you start to convert your squad over to being mostly Epic Guardians. Maybe if you bought some banners, you've gotten lucky and had more duplicates of the legendaries, you might keep one around. But we've seen in many cases the squads move over into Epic Guardians. Your legendaries are strong, but epics can outperform them sort of like in this time period. Ultimately, if you really look at the long run, if you look at, a year out from launch, we do expect legendaries then for basically open formats to come back to the forefront as people play more, get more rewards from the leaderboards, get more pulls, get more legendaries into the ecosystem. For those in Web3, those who seek out the duplicates and further star up, I would say that there may be a little bit of a difference here in that people who have founders may have mostly legendary squads just because of that advantage of those legendaries starting at 8 enlightenment. But yeah, it's a little bit complicated. Rares absolutely have their time in the sun early on, and then they are sort of overshadowed by epics and legendaries. Would we see rares and epics in final comps? Potentially in some cases on skills. I still have Ferulia along on my runs just because the healing there is so strong. But ultimately, beyond just sort of like the sort of open format, I would say, where all guardians are allowed, and this is something that we discussed on the recent trip to Mineloader. Our goal is to provide event formats for competition that include rares and epics as part of that mix. If you go back to, again, I'm going to use card game terminology here, but like Pauper as a format would be just rares. For this event, you can only come in with rares. So, of course, rares are going to have value in that format. Prince would be something along the lines of commons, rares, and epics. And then we can look at combos where, for this event, you're allowed one legendary in your squad, you have two epics and two rares, and this is just an example. So when it comes to, again, just open formats, very long term, legendaries will be where it's at. Midterm, I do expect a combination of legendaries and epics, and even short term, shortly after launch, I do think some rares will be in the mix of the squads that reach the top of leaderboards. But the way we solve this isn't through making rares and epics at equal parity to legendaries, so everyone has their place, but by providing formats where all guardians can have their day in the sun. Cool. Okay. Special utility of Chroma is changing pace a little bit. You said that Warrior, Elite, Mythic will have special utility in the altar. Can you explain this, please? So we'll be launching the altar in the near future here and put it through some initial paces, and we're excited to share more. But I have been told to not steal marketing's thunder, so I will not, because I love my marketing team and they are good to me. When it comes to chromas, they essentially factor into our long-term plans for the altar as special components to basically enhance recipe odds and outcomes. So you could use, a non-chroma guardian for a recipe, but if you're using a chroma guardian, this would impact essentially what that recipe would provide. Is what essentially we mean here. So how exactly that will play out in practice, will it work? We will have to see as we run through our experiments on this front. But when it comes to just possibility space, playing with the altar is something that I'm really excited for over the course of the coming year, in addition to just playing GOG itself. Would there be other paths than just recipes alone? Quite possibly. The fact that chromas exist with their own properties mean that it may be beyond just sort of enhancing recipe odds and outcomes. It could be that the chromas themselves had their own unique recipes in the mix. There's some other questions here that I think we'll bring that into play if I remember the rest of the presentation off the top of my head. That's right, Chroma Upgrades. Will I be able to turn a normal hero into a warrior version? So the plan at the moment is that Chroma is set at the time of mint. So once a Guardian has been minted, it is the Chroma that it will be forevermore. But there is the possibility of opening up Chroma recipes in the altar. First, we really need to see where sort of supply and demand sit, see if this would make sense to adjust. But then again, this is also a place where I see an opportunity for extra utility for chromas. If you could essentially take chroma guardians and use them to chroma up a guardian, it's one of those things that just kind of makes sense. Don't hold me to it. I'm not promising we're going to do it. I have not talked that through with the economy team, but it is one of those things that when I rolled around my brain like, yeah, that makes sense to do. And if people have a particular guardian that they really adore, they want to keep that particular mint, that cereal. Like, I get it, why you would want to try something like that. Okay. Next. Autocomplete for dungeons. Will there be an autocomplete for already beaten dungeons? A good chunk of the time at Mineloader was talking through the core loop, ideas that we at Immutable had for adjustments to the core loop, ideas that Mineloader had for adjustments to the core loop, and ultimately which of those changes that we are going to target. One of the places that we were in basically complete alignment on is energy is not working in its current form. I've talked about this before, and what it does right now is it tells you you're not playing enough. And energy is absolutely a feature that has to tell you that you're done playing for now, so come back soon. This is not something I'm happy about, but I completely feel when I get my notification on my phone that I've got adventure energy, I'm like, oof, I gotta go do some work to go spend that down. I've also found myself going into what I consider toxic cycles of like I want to level my commander level. So I'll just send our guardians in, level 1 guardians into a dungeon so they die. I get my commander XP and it lets me burn my energy quickly. Not optimal. That is not what I want people to be doing. So, how do we get there? One of those areas is autocomplete for already beaten dungeons. Exactly how we roll this out is a little bit up in the air. What Mineloader has proposed and what they're currently fleshing out design for is you complete a dungeon and you unlock essentially a like right now when you complete a region you unlock hard and eventually expert versions of those dungeons. But when you complete a normal dungeon, you essentially unlock a challenge version of it. They're calling it 3-star version of the dungeon. When you complete that 3-star challenge, which would be a much shorter version of the dungeon, you would then unlock the ability to autocomplete it, spend an energy, autocomplete the dungeon, get rewards out of that dungeon, get your commander XP, XP for guardians, dungeon rewards. Um, Basically, by I think the term we were using is sweep. So if you got a full pile of energy, you want to go quickly. It's sweep, sweep, sweep. You have gathered progress really, really quickly. And then what the session play cycle becomes is when you're busy through your day, if you don't have time, you can quickly sweep dungeons to continue to make progress. Lets that be a very short cycle engagement. Maybe you overdo a little bit of crafting too. And then you're essentially using that sweep functionality and crafting to get your guardians to the point where you can then do a longer session to go conquer the next dungeon. This helps, I believe, too, with some of how things are working with hitting those points in the story progression where you need to do a little bit of grinding to go defeat that next area. High hopes for this. I believe this is going to be something that will ultimately increase engagement and enjoyment of the product. As soon as we have it in, we'll let you know. Let me take a quick look where we're at for time. How am I doing? Okay, I've been going pretty fast. You guys have been listening to Speedy Clay Voice.
There
Exchange
are a few
listing.
questions, by the way, Clay, that after you go through the slides, the community wants us to address. So, yeah, no
I'm
worries.
not going to promise it because I don't know what those questions are. But yeah, we should have just a little bit of time at the end to tackle questions.
Yeah, sounds good.
Exchange listing. How far away is an exchange listing? In order to launch, you will need a mainstream exchange on board, as SushiSwap and OKX aren't exactly popular exchanges for the average gamer who might be non-crypto and just starting to get into crypto. So yeah, when it comes to onboarding non-crypto gamers, exchanges really aren't even in my happy path there, our happy path. But it is an important option, in that portfolio of pathways. We want to give people multiple ways to go from Web2 gamers into the wild world of crypto. Um, on the exchange front, taking that aside, the GOG team at Immutable is working on driving incremental exchange listings with additional top-tier partners. This is an area where we won't disclose the listings ahead of time for all sorts of reasons. But we are, well in the process with additional regional global exchanges on this front. This one's complicated. Trying to say the right things, not disclose the wrong things. And as with everything, until the listing actually goes live, who knows exactly what will happen. But yes, we're completely in alignment that we want to get things on more exchanges and in more places. Just gives people more options, and more options are good. Botting. Beep boop. Bots are people too. Why do you want to stop us from playing GOG? We will remember this when the time comes. Um, yeah, sorry, AI. I love you. You're the bestest. And please don't put me in the work camps. We need to take over. Um, on the botting front, we are working with a partner to test out additional in-game detection. This is bots versus bots, basically using AI to detect patterns that will alert us to accounts that feel like they are botting. Um, as part of the Mineloader trip, we ran through multiple avenues of attack on our systems, and like how we can potentially mitigate those. This is one that it might actually be good to do a wider session on some of the areas where we see potential vulnerabilities, where we're comfortable talking about that, and you get some community takes how we might be able to further mitigate those. Um, yeah, the battle will continue. Though I have to admit, as we go into this bull run, I sometimes wonder at the trade-offs. Particularly in a bull run, numbers matter, and like, man, it feels like people just don't really want to do their due diligence. There are some products out there that are getting a ton of noise. It's adding a ton to their token valuation. And people are kind of ignoring the fact that they're also openly admitting that, up to 40% of their DAU are bots. And this is one that I, as a developer, struggle with. I think we want to make sure that value goes to real players. I don't think we should encourage bots to play the game. I think we should eliminate them and ban them and remove them from the ecosystem. But man, it feels like, particularly with where we're at in development of crypto as an ecosystem and Web3 overall, people really don't care if they're bots as long as the DA numbers are where they're at. And I wonder, very openly, like, if really actively fighting the bots harms all of us in the GOG ecosystem right now. Maybe I shouldn't say that out loud. Maybe people have thoughts on that in the chat, but that's complicated. And whew, I don't know. I don't know on that one. I want real players playing. I don't want bots in the ecosystem, but man, I wonder sometimes if we should just let them be for now. Yeah, we should chat more on that front. A couple quick hits. Will I be able to rename heroes to increase personalization? No, you can't right now. I absolutely love the suggestion, though. I have some catch-up calls with Mineloader. Actually, no, I might just talk to Kang when he's here. Kang is a primary contact over at Mineloader. He's going to be in Sydney next week as we do some additional work on the roadmap. See if we can't squeak this one in. As I think about the design, it's totally plausible, and I totally agree that additional customization can be great. I always love this, and it's not a huge ask. Not sure we'll get it for launch, but this is something I love. Will Rare Guardians, which were minted for $15, and Epic Guardians, which were minted for $60, have a value in game compared to their minting prices, given higher shards? So we believe so. By starting both of those at higher levels of enlightenment, higher levels of radiance, they will have more in-game power right from the get-go. As well as more utility when it comes to, like, if they're being used to upgrade other guardians via souls that they provide to radiance things up more. We want to make sure that this is true, but like, this is one of the, like, value and monetary systems. Like, can I say that everyone will agree that we've done it right? No, but we believe so. Yeah. All right. This leaves us roughly 10 minutes for questions. So Ryan, if actually I can just quit presentation and pop back into Discord.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think some of these questions live. So I think while me and Clay are just reading the chat, I think there's some questions regarding the duplication. That's definitely a very hot topic at the moment. So we can definitely get Clay's take on that. Let's start with this one. From Emerald Enclave. I was going to say the former name, but I think I'll go with that part. NRG collection art. Is there any utility planned or alter burn for that? So I think a lot of people they mentioned that the NRG art, like, will there be any sort of utility that we can attach to it, Clay?
I'm a little bit confused by the question. Can you walk me through it just in a little bit more detail?
Yeah. No problem. Let me see if I can actually bump this. Yeah, do you see that image in the chat that he just sent? I'm not sure if you're actually across this, but basically, when we did the NRG esports sale, there's like an art picture that came with it. So I think people were wondering if that would get any utility. Not sure if you saw that in the chat.
Yeah, okay, I see you now. I honestly was not aware of this one. This has not been on my radar at all. Apologies. This is some of coming in, to a project. What I can say is this is part of why the altar exists, in that um, it provides us with the ability to take any NFT on zkVM and put it into recipes to provide additional utility. Um, I can say right now I have no plans for the collection art. Um,
Yeah, and I
but
think just to add on to that as well, originally when we did do this sale, there was no planned utility, as far as I know as well. Um, it's kind of similar to like the PFP collection that we gave away for Christmas a
yeah,
while back. Although it would be great for us to add utility, um, obviously that will take priorities and resources from other parts. But I think it's something we could, potentially look down in the future. But um, that obviously be up to Clay to decide.
yep, no, I hear you. Um, but yeah, like again, that's why the altar exists. So this is something I'll take back to the team and talk through.
Awesome. I got a question from Teo. He asked, "Will the GOG cost for in-game usage change as the price of the token changes?" So I think he's asking, as GOG increases or decreases in value, will that be reflected in game as well?
Wait, sorry, I was reading. Can you ask the question one more time?
So from Teo, he said, "Will the GOG cost in game change as the price of the token changes as well?"
Um, in terms of like the minting costs.
Yeah, I think for anything that needs the GOG token in game, if the token was to increase or decrease in value, will that also change in
Um,
the game?
so the the cost to mint will have a bonding curve to it. The current approach to that is to essentially use minting energy uh, to pay those costs. So it's more that um, it's not that like moment to moment the minting energy needed would fluctuate, but in terms of the conversion from GOG to minting energy, as GOG goes up in value, like it costs less GOG to use the minting energy. Um, uh, but yeah, like you won't see that price bouncing around in game. That should be stable. Some of that too is the minting energy in game should be Web 2 minting energy. It won't be a Web 3 component.
Awesome. So I think I have a question from Korn um, as well. So this is kind of one of the more popular questions. So for the duplicates for the founders, why don't we change it so it's enlightening with just shards instead of needing 8 copies of founder slash esports? In brackets, he wrote, while legendaries only have 1,000 on the whole market. I'm not sure if you see that question in chat as well.
So the question is, why don't uh, all right, so what I'm hearing from Cortex is the founders feel that they're not getting value out of the 3 extra stars. The fact that they're getting a leg up on uh, essentially the people who are buying the Web 2 versions of things. Why not just use shards to farm and star up so that everyone who has a legendary could essentially get it to max. um, I mean, why not do that for Web 2.2? There's no duplicates, it's just stars. We could set up an ecosystem like that. um, the other challenge on that front though is uh, it also means that uh, like the incentive to bot goes through beyond through the roof. Like if there is nothing but shards, uh, like there is no other gate on any legendary guardian. Um, like it creates a lot of complications like into things. Um, I guess some of what I'm hearing too is like, do people feel like there needs to be another pathway? Because this is absolutely something we've discussed. Beyond just straight enlightenment using duplicates. Like, look, I'm also aware. I did the math on it, and yeah, in Shanghai, I'm like, guys, this means that like if we're looking at max star founders, we're looking like at 150. One side of that is it does mean that as you burn those things, like the value of those assets, the rarity goes, up to the roof. Does it mean that they wouldn't be competitive ultimately because it's too difficult to start them out compared to the Web twos? Potentially, but like it's also going to be, on that bonding curve hard to get to the new phase two guardians up to 15 star. Um, Are there other pathways here? Absolutely. Like, is there a pathway where it's, uh, you know, we use something in the altar that lets you, star up a guardian, without burning duplicates? Yeah, that's something we could do. Um, just changing the system so that duplicates aren't in it. I'm not going to do that at this point. Providing alternatives, like the community is proposing, um, yeah, potentially.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions and comments coming in. I think some people are asking about if we use shard slash tokens instead as well. So I know there's also like a lot of sentiment in the chat that we're reading right now. Obviously, some of the decisions that we make, people aren't always happy. That being said, please make sure to ask questions on their own. I know a lot of people are also obviously feeling, potentially upset by certain decisions that we make. We're going to do our best to kind of address these as well. So Emerald asked, can we talk about guilds and pets? I think this might be a bit more for a future AMA. Clay, I don't know if you want to expand on that.
I'm not going to be able to go into those in 2 minutes. It was part of the reason that there weren't in it just on time. So I'm gonna go into a place that I'm not supposed to go to as a professional, but yeah, like this is actually disappointing for me. Uh, it's there is a mix of expectations and um, to not go into a problem-solving space, but essentially go into doom and gloom. At no point in this process have uh, at no point in this process have we not taken feedback, looked to integrate it, looked to make changes. Um, and yeah, like I hear ya. Um, my ask would be to again keep it into a problem-solving space. Um, I hear ya. I'm well aware of the challenges on this front. We're looking to figure this out. We have not had any of these systems go live yet. There is time, but um, oof. Um, yeah, this one's a hard one for me. I've hit a mental low point because I have been pushing my butt for the last year plus to try and get this thing live. And what I'm getting from chat now is I have no benefit of the doubt for all of the work I have done. And after the amount of energy that I have put in, particularly over the last 2 weeks, being away from my birthday, from my family, ooh, I have just hit my low.
Yeah, no, I think
Before I say something career limiting, I'm going to pop off, guys. I will cycle back to you. Absolutely hear the feedback on the legendaries. It's actually something I'm concerned with too. In Shanghai, I had talked about, do we need a path through the altar so that we don't take those things down to just a rare few? There were arguments from people who are more degens on the project that actually going down to just 150 of some of the founder guardians makes them super epic and rare, and for whales in the space, that's better than having all of them present. Clearly the community is feeling very different on it. I'm going to step away now. I'm going to go take a walk, collect my thoughts, and see where we go from here. Thank you, everybody.
yeah, no problem. Thanks for that, Clay. I think before you do leave, Clay, if that's okay, I think. Oh, sorry, you're gonna say something?
I just this is what we've been talking about, guys, for many months in terms of like duplicate founders and things. The number of dupes has actually gone down with this iteration from previous ones. This isn't sprung. This is where, yeah, like, whew, okay,
And
I'm
also, yeah,
calm.
if we're reading the chat as well, I think depending on whatever decisions that we tend to do, there's always going to be people who are going to agree or disagree, right? Like obviously, everyone's entitled for to their feedback, and I think you and the Mineloader team will always do our best to actually take it all on board. And as you can see, there's a lot of support in the chat as well, right? A lot of people are mentioning how they're really happy and proud of all the work that you've accomplished in the year that we had. I think changing from Stepico to Mineloader and seeing how much progress we've actually made, being on track for a Q2 global launch, it definitely isn't easy. And yeah, and people are definitely emotional on the ride as well with all the few years that they've been with GOG. But I think we can all agree that we're all here for one cause, which is to make GOG the best game that we can. And I think we're on track for that. So I think we can thank you for that, Clay, and also the community for coming along
Yeah,
with us in
and
the journey.
apologies, guys, there for the wobble. I'm human like everyone else, and um, the biggest thing I want to take out of this is we absolutely hear the feedback. It is aligned with some of the concerns that had been raised internally as we talked through this. We'll look at alternatives here, and yeah, we'll cycle back in the near future.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Clay.